I would say wellness to me seems like taking care of yourself the best way that you can and to strive for that. It would be like content with yourself and comfortable with yourself. For a long time, I wasn't comfortable with myself growing up. And so I think I've learned that wellness through writing and expressing myself and through music and through other avenues of being creative. But have I been in my head stuff? Yeah, but beyond writing, I'm talking about being married and other things too, like in my head about I thought that I had to have someone there. I was always running from something, but I was afraid of being left alone. And I had a huge abandonment issue. And those things were in my head as well. You're never really alone. And if you sit there and you keep saying, I'm alone, I'm alone, I'm alone, well, your brain's hearing you say that and think that. So it's going to keep giving you alone, alone, alone. So really huge, firm believer in the subconscious mind and how the subconscious mind works and how you can speak to it.
Welcome to the Collaborative Resource Hub by Wellness Provisions. We're bridging the gap between mental health, wellness, and rock and roll. I'm Amy McBride, owner of Wellness Provisions, the most badass wellness business. Hey, are you feeling a little stuck in life? I offer wellness coaching sessions. Book a session with me if you're seeking to get healthy and ahead. Sessions are available worldwide. And check this out. Wellness Provisions supplies rock and rollers with high-quality supplements. We've simplified your shopping experience and given you a trustworthy place to go where you can essentially shop blindfolded. And did you know all our Collaborative Resource Hub interviews air on YouTube as well as all major podcast platforms? Subscribe to stay in the loop. Go immerse yourself in the full Collaborative Resource Hub experience over on our website. You'll have access to helpful resources that will inspire and educate you. So let's inspire each other. If that guy did it, so can you. Last but not least, my legal disclaimer. Nothing in this interview or the Collaborative Resource Hub substitutes medical advice. Please connect with your GP if you need medical guidance. Rick, from Good Guys in Black, proBMXer, yes. Wonderful person all around. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you. I like talking to people who do sports kind of stuff, like the athleticism, because it's like so much, you need so much resilience to do that. And so it's going to be a good conversation.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So here's my first question. Don't fail. Okay. Here's my first question. If you had to describe the sound of your band sonically, Good Guys in Black, to someone who hasn't heard you before, what would you say?
It's with comparing myself to other bands or not?
I don't care, whatever.
Because I always hate that, like, well, we sound like this, because then it's like, well, then you wrote like that, you know what I mean?
Right.
But your influences are everybody. Influences, I'd say music influenced from all different genres, because I like all different genres, but music from the heart. And sometimes I think sometimes I think man, maybe my band's, I love my band and I can't change who I am, you know what I mean? But sometimes I'm like, dang, if we would have been like a 80s punk band or 90s, it's like, is it too real for people, bro? You know what I mean? They're so used to listening to you know what I mean? Like, and I don't write love songs, which I probably should. I start doing that. But it's like, I mean, the influences is like, we got punk, thrash style, metal. My guitar is just so rad with riffs that it's like, I'm influenced by metal, by punk rock, by like, you know, so it's a combination of all of those, but it's honest and from the heart. And I think that's how I carry myself as a person, that I didn't want to have to be like, oh, okay, well, create this person I'm not in music, or I don't know. And people can do that. That's totally cool. For me, it's like, I've always just been really raw and real in who I am and what I do. And I just take that approach with music. And so I'd say just real honest, raw from the heart, real positive, and but it has its moments where it's questioning. It's like, dude, you know, but yeah, it's try to keep the PMA in there for sure. Yeah.
I dig it. What's a record that, like, if there is one right now that you're listening to like a lot, like obsessively?
To this day?
Yeah, just man,
lately, well, I have an iPod shuffle, so I have all kinds of stuff in there. It's a bunch of different stuff, but like, I like these, like, I mean, if I was to say who I listen to the most, that's been the most influential, impactful in my life, would probably be Ian McKay. from Discord Records. So I could put in like the first Fugazi 13 songs and listen to that over and over and over and over again, because I grew up in that time too, you know, like I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri, and our buddy, one of our skate buddies, he was friends with the East Coast. He was friends with Ian, and he actually got us a cassette tape of Fugazi before Fugazi was released.
Oh, wow.
Dude, and we had this song, I think it was called Furniture, that he put out, Fugazi put out decades later, that we had already been listening to, that was on that cassette tape that never released. But I just think what I like most about, you know, there's different types of punk rock growing up, and the things that I cling to. Like, I love Suicidal Tendencies. I listen to them all day as well. But like, there's different types of punk rock, and different types of people were doing different things. There was different characters, and it wasn't so one dimensional. Totally. And like, to me, yeah, I cling to that, like DC, Discord, Ian McKay, you know, Rites of Spring, Marginal Man, Beefeater, all those Discord bands, especially Minor Threat, and then Embrace. I would say Embrace. I would say Ian McKay's band, Embrace. Those that don't know, that's after Minor Threat, before Fugazi. He did a band called Embrace. And I would say that's probably, I could listen to that record forever, over and over and over again, never get tired of it. It's just like, yeah. So yeah, I like that, because that's the kind of person, because I looked towards music to help me get out of my situation, the environment I was in. And I didn't want to jump in the fire and say, oh, can we cuss? F it. Yeah, whatever. Like
fuck it. Yeah.
Like fuck it. Like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, party my life away and get into trouble, and I'll follow this pattern. I was like, no, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. And that's where that music I cling to more than different types of other punk rock that I appreciate. But I just, the forefront for me was that DC movement and Ian McKay.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Wow. You passed. I like your answer.
Long answer, but you know, hey.
So shifting gears away from music, because I don't talk about music hardly at all on this, even though there's records behind me.
Right.
What does wellness mean to you?
When I hear the word wellness?
Yeah, it's very extended, however you want to answer it.
I would say wellness to me seems like it when I first hear the word, is like taking care of yourself, you know, in the best way that you can, and to strive for that. You know, you could always be better. You could always be healthier. You could always be stronger. I'm geared that way. You know what I mean? Yeah. I could always be better. And I think that's because I'm an athlete too. And that drives you like that, like to be like, oh, you went 10 feet. Well, maybe I could do 12, you know, let's strive for that. But wellness means, when I hear the word wellness, means to me, it would be like content with yourself and comfortable with yourself. You know, for a long time, I wasn't comfortable with myself growing up. I wasn't always this way. And so, you know, I think I've learned that wellness through writing and expressing myself, and through music, and through other avenues of being creative. But to me, that's what that means, is clearly taking care of yourself and in the most positive way that you can.
Yeah. And so the whole like striving to be better, because I think that's awesome. But then like, obviously, like with anything, there's that tipping point where, you know, you can be like obsessive over it and like super duper hard on yourself and unforgiving. Mm-hmm. Like what does that look like for you?
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you. I think if you're too hardcore on yourself, then you're not living in the moment. You're not enjoying now. And if you're not enjoying now, then what's the point of living? Because life is about now. You know, it's like people, what I mean by that is like if you're always worried about the future, and not to say that you shouldn't be concerned about your goals and where you want to be, but if you're not enjoying the moments now, but then there's a balance to that too, because then if all you do is live in the moment, you don't plan, then it's like, so, you know, life's a crazy balance. And so finding that balance with wellness as well is being like, yeah, I'm hard on myself for sure, but I'm also content with myself. Like if I'm in a session and I'm shooting a photo and I'm doing like a 1-footer or something, and I'm like, I can make it a little better. I know my limits now. If I push too hard, I might get hurt. If I'm going to compulse over something, I'm not going to move forward. Usually a lot of times I'll shoot one photo and be like, I could do it better. I'll shoot it 10 more times and go back and go, first one was the best one.
Right? Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it's weird. But I will say, for me, I like watching myself, but only for a little bit. And then I'm not like I sit around and watch, because then there's a balance to that too. You know, am I going to listen to my own music all day long? It's like, you know what I mean? It's like life is really just such a balance of like, and still remembering that like you don't get today back. So yeah, set goals, yeah, plan for the future, yeah, be the best you can be, all these great things, but at the same time, don't forget about right now.
That's it. Yeah. Cause it's like having that purpose, knowing, you know, like figuring out like what your why is, what you are working towards. And as you are on that path, enjoy that path.
Yeah. I know what you're saying though. I've known people that have been so compulsive about them and their work and their writing or whatever, that like they just not to have any fun, you know. They just never seemed like they were happy. And that's, so I know I'm not like that. But I am hard on myself, because I am an artist, and I want to try to put my best for me out there and my best ability. I want to look back at these photos I'm shooting every day and be like, oh, I remember, and it's solid. It's not like half-ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
You ever like, or have you ever gotten just like in like, you know, super overthinking, that kind of mental
oh
state?
yeah. Well, I think Bruce Lee said it best. Don't think, but feel. And so I see my son going through that right now with football, and I had to have that talk with him, and I turned him on to Bruce Lee. Get out of your head. Get out of the motion being correct. Get out of like thinking you're not fast or someone's faster. Get out of your head of like, you know, the ball's not always getting thrown to you every time. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, get out of your head, and you'll see your body and the excitement to want to play. And then people want to pull that to you. No one wants to do it, because when you're in your head, you can't see that, but everyone else can, you know? So have I been in my head and stuff? Yeah. But beyond writing, I'm talking about being married and other things too. Like in my head about, I thought that I had to have someone there. I thought that I was always running from something, but I was afraid of being left alone. And I had a huge abandonment issue. And, you know, those things were in my head as well, because you're never really alone. And if you sit there and you keep saying, I'm alone, I'm alone, I'm alone, well, your brain's hearing you say that and think that. So it's going to keep giving you alone, alone, alone. So I'm a really huge, firm believer in the subconscious mind and how the subconscious mind works and how you can speak to it. And, you know, so yeah, man, I have been in those situations and learned, but that's like anything else. You know, I could sit here and tell my son or my daughter, do this, this, this. They have to learn their own selves. I mean, I could only,
from experience.
I can only give you advice, and then you can take what you want. And then, but for the most part, I will say, if in a writing aspect, if you're in your head and you're second guessing what you're doing, you probably shouldn't do it, because you'll probably get hurt. Because it's happened to me before.
Yeah.
You start playing mind games with yourself. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So the abandonment issues thing. And then also with like, you know, the whole subconscious thing. I feel like, because I think that's like, it's a thing, and it's a trap where people say, well, I have abandonment issues. I have abandonment issues. I have, you know, it's like, well, if you keep reinforcing that, no shit, you have abandonment issues. But if you if you can change the story and say like, you know, I am totally like able to be in like a healthy relationship. People care about me. I care about others. Like, if you tweak the narrative and stop identifying with this limiting label, right? Like, so how did you move beyond abandonment issues?
Well, the way that I did it was after I stopped, after all the years of like just chasing and forcing relationships and marriages and stuff, and said, okay, I need to make a change. And the first thing I did is I learned how the brain works. And I found, and you've always heard about PMA, and like bad brains, PMA. There's somebody actually that came up with PMA before bad brains. It was a guy named Napoleon Hill, and he wrote Think and Grow Rich. And so someone said, you should check out this guy, Napoleon Hill, because I've always looked for music, for positivity, and I've never really been that great at reading. So I said, I'll get some audiobooks. And right off the bat, I found for $2.95, 10 hours of his lectures on iTunes. And he describes how the brain works and how the subconscious mind works and how it never goes to sleep. It only gets what you don't even have to say it. You think it, and it acts on what you think, and it takes it literal. It doesn't know the difference between rich and poor.
Yep.
You know, whatever you tell it, whatever you think it goes, okay, I want to. So I did a test, and this is happening to my son right now. I did a test. I said, I want to buy a Jeep. I told myself, I want to buy a Jeep. I'm going to buy a Jeep. I'm going to buy a Jeep. And then all of a sudden I start noticing on the cars on the street, what cars most? Jeeps. I said, wait, is that my subconscious mind? Check it. We're buying this FJ Cruiser for my daughter. Me and my son have been driving around. When she's not around, she hasn't seen it yet. He's all hyped on it. Only thing he sees on the street when he talks about it is, dude, there's an FJ. Dude, there's an FJ. I go, that's your subconscious mind because you're so excited about it. Now parallel that into football, parallel that into success, parallel that into things you want, and those will reveal themselves. Sounds simple, right? Because it is. I was complicating my life and I needed to change things. And so I was honest with myself. That was the first thing I had to be honest. So I said, wait a second. They always said, don't fall asleep in front of the TV. I get it now because you're just absorbing all these commercials and all this garbage into your subconscious mind. Well, if I listen to Napoleon Hill while I sleep, because I'm a lazy reader, maybe that will log into my subconscious mind because it's listening while I'm sleeping. Mm-hmm. I thought, okay. And then I started to get into that, man. And I started to go, wait. So I had abandonment issues. I was a people pleaser and afraid of being alone. I guess that's like an abandonment issue. So I started to find literature on things that like, you know, about these things, about to change myself beyond Napoleon Hill. Then I found Esther Hicks. She talks about like the law of attraction and these things. And then I found a book, No More Mr. Nice Guy, which didn't mean like be mean. It means take care of you. It's okay. You're all right to take care of yourself. I was never taught that way. I had like a lot of guilt in me of like having nice things and stuff like that, or owning things. And that was the reason why I got married. I had this house, I couldn't enjoy it alone, right? I'm supposed to share it with someone, right? But I'm afraid of being alone, right? I'm a people pleaser, right? It's like a mixture of like just not anything good, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, to go on and on about it, I just started listening to these books. And then I wasn't expecting anything to happen like overnight, but over years of doing it, I don't do it anymore because I don't need to. Mm-hmm. I see the red flags. I know where I went. I'm more comfortable with myself. I became my own best friend. It's okay to be selfish. They say selfish or bad. No, I'm put on this earth to live my life. I'm not put on this earth to live anyone else's. Mm-hmm. But being inconsiderate and rude and mean is a whole nother thing. That's not selfish, right? So we're labeled in life to be like, oh, you're selfish, and then that layers of guilt on you. Well, like if I don't want to do it, then I don't want to do it if it doesn't make me happy. Right now, in some cases, I might be with my family. I'm going to help my family out, but I was always that guy that was really open and willing to help. And not to say that I'm not, but I wanted to have friends, and I wanted to, you know, I was real vulnerable. As much as I was the tough guy in the front with the helmet on, doing the bike tricks, all that. And it wasn't until I started a band and I started to tap into my emotions, and I was expressing myself physically, but that only has that has a limit and a roof in sports. People don't want it. They just want your tricks. Anything outside of that too much at the time is, you know, and I was always wanting more. So that's where the music came in. So to answer this in a crazy long way, that's what it was, man. I just listened to those books. I found literature and authors and people that I like that worked for me. And over the course of time, sure enough, I'd meet a girl and I'd be like, red flag. But the old me would be like, go for it. You're lonely. You know, you haven't been with anyone in a long time, just even like a date, you know, going out, like you haven't been, no intimacy at all. And so you would act on that, but be like, I don't know if I really like that person, you know?
Yeah.
So that's when I stopped. And my kids helped me, but having kids helped because then I was able to go through my therapy and then realize I was never alone because I had them. So, you know, it's that's how I did it, man. And that worked for me. So.
Yeah. So as you start to get that awareness about like your behavior and like what you're thinking and choosing and stuff, and as you start evolving, you know, I guess what I'm getting at is you become more aligned with the people and the experiences that are healthy for you, you know? So like, as far as like the people pleasing stuff or being, giving too much of yourself, you know, you can start as you change that about yourself, then you're no longer as attracted or attractive to people who just want to take from you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so then you're not setting yourself up, and relationships are challenging, and where I'm at in my life, raising my children. Look, I have no family in California. And I'm not shitting on my ex-wife. She's a great person. At the time, I had my kids pretty much full time for years. And so, or it was an 80-20 split, but I was cool with it because I committed to that. And she was figuring out the things she needed to figure out. And me and her are friends. There's no bad blood. Nowadays it's hit or miss. 1 month might be 50-50, but the majority of the time the kids are with me.
Yeah.
And they're used to that, and it's okay. It's totally fine. And I went through these changes because I needed to change. I got tired of doing the same thing, and like and then I had to realize that, like, whoa, I get it. Like, Esther Hicks was right. She's like, you keep telling the same story, you get the same result, because subconscious mind's listening.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you tell your subconscious mind, yo, this is an old story. And that's what I do now. I say, oh yeah, let's check this out. This is an old story. And the mind goes, oh, old story. And so what I found myself was just sitting around complaining about the ex, complaining about this, this and that, this and that. And I realized, like, man, that's why my life's not getting better. I keep talking about stuff that already happened.
Yeah, you're in the past, and plus it's also just negative like energy too. So there's no forward movement in that at all.
No, and you can't change it. And so, but then when you get to the level where you're like, I am now, and I mean this with respect, I'm like, I was a different person back then. She was a different person back then. I'm kind of glad we're not together. Not in a mean way, but obviously we were like this. And then when we grew apart, it's not bringing us back together. It's right. Like, okay, cool. We were never meant to be, but we made great children. And we've been able to maintain like a friendship and for the children, but also too, like, I don't think any of us have any bad blood. So it's kind of like after a while, you're like, oh, I wouldn't want to be with her anyways. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, cool. I'm good. I'm good.
And that's that growth. Yeah. And that's the growth, because you're seeing you've changed, you've grown, and you're just like, that's not where I am anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And that goes to the wellness, with your podcast. And for me, like, I've never had a problem with alcohol. I've never done any drugs. I've never had an addiction problem, a gambling problem. None of that stuff. It was more for me, the abandonment, the feeling unwanted, that, because as a child, I did feel that, not to shit on my parents or anything, but that's what it was. And that was my sickness, was just trying to not be alone. Mm-hmm. And now I dig it.
Yeah. Here's an advert in less than 20 seconds. Did you know that Wellness Provisions offers one-on-one wellness sessions? Yep. So if you're seeking to get healthy and ahead in life, but feeling a little stuck, then book a session and let's get you unstuck. Now back to the interview. So what kind of stuff, like, I guess, what do I even want to ask? Like, because there's so many people who are scared to be by themselves. There's always distractions. They're always watching, TV or whatever. So, like, I don't know. I guess if someone were to be in that position, since you've experienced it and grown through it, what would you tell them as far as like how to be okay with going inwards?
Well, I'm going to be real with you. Some nights I'm like, man, like, my kids are gone, stay with their mom for a few days. The first day is always the hardest, because I feel like, okay, I got to shift gears. I'm like, wow, I got all this time on myself. Okay. Yeah, there's times where I get lonely, for sure. Mm-hmm. But then I'm like, you have your friends. But for me, like, it's where I started to draw, and then I do comedy. I got into comedy. I've been doing really good at stand-up comedy. Like, I'm booking a lot of gigs. I got my own show at the Rainbow Bar and Grill. I don't know if you know where the Rainbow is, but it's on Sunset. It's a classic bar, rocker bar. where Motley Crue and everyone used to hang out, Guns N' Roses and shit.
Yeah.
And upstairs, I have my own comedy music show. I got my 5th one coming up. And so I really dove into the comedy and then watching comedy and studying and going out to open mics and learning how to do it. So I immersed myself into something else besides just a person. Just like, okay, because I believe that it's too much stress and pressure to have someone make you happy. Like, dude, it's no one's job. Like, it's yours. Like that's your responsibility. So do things, read, draw, watch movies, watch videos, get involved in things you like, things that you like that you've always wanted to do, study them, start trying them. Like, that's what I did. You know, not only do I ride bikes and music, but I've been hosting TV forever. I've been hosting radio forever. I do movies. I do comedy. I post my own shows, just put on my own bike contest. I do all kinds of shit. And so it's like, yeah, workhorse. Oh, I gotta explode. Oh, it's just shining. All work and no play. It makes Jack an angry boy. You know, there is a balance. And so there are those times where I'm like, damn, I wish I had someone in my life. But then I got to remember, my kids are in my life, and right now isn't the right time. And one day, that I'm not saying I would never not want to be in a relationship, because I'm sure once my kids move on, I'll be like, well, this kind of sucks. I don't want to be in my house by myself, you know. But right now, it's allowing me to get back to what I love to do. And listen, I toured for 25 years straight. I've been riding bikes since I've been 11, 12 years old. And I had to stop doing that because I had no family and I had my kids 100% of the time. And you see all of you talk about mental wellness.
Yeah.
You're seeing all your friends go, and they're going and they're going, and the Instagram and the hype and the smoke and mirrors. You're like, you're over here squirming. You're like, you know, that's how I make my money. I got to feed my kids. What am I going to do? You understand what I'm saying? It was like hard. But I'm glad that it happened the way it did, because I was able to reprogram, get stronger, rebuild, and all along the way, always be there for them. Well, that's priceless, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, I don't know where I'm taking this. I'm just saying that, like, for me, it was just like, yeah, there are times where I do get, like, you know, lonely, but I am a human. And I can't just,
that's it. I think it's normal. Like, we're social creatures, and like, you can be very much like in yourself and okay with yourself and making yourself happy, but like, it's normal to want to share experiences and time with someone and have that deeper connection. Like, we're fucking human.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not saying, like, to anyone out there, oh, just work and avoid people and avoid friends and just work and achieve your goals and be hard on yourself. And that's not good enough. You got to be better. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, as an artist, you're always wanting to do better. As an athlete, as a bike rider, you're always wanting to learn new tricks. Listen, man, that's my job. That's what I do. I hate to say job because I don't look at it like that, but it is. You got to stay in shape. You got to learn tricks. You got to stay on your game. You got to reinvent yourself. Because the second that you're predictable, you're boring. And the second you're boring, what's your value in this game? And so I've learned all of this stuff. So for me, I'm constantly shuffling around and constantly just doing all kinds of crazy shit just to, like, go for it.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
and I mean, you're learning new things, keeps your brain sharp, and, you know, it's making you happy, which is positive energy that's going out into the world and bringing back more positivity, you know, into your life.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? I would say anybody out there too, like, if you're, you know, looking for a companion and looking for a relationship, you know, most people, they just dive right into something. Maybe just take a beat and just figure out, like, takes two to tango, figure out yourself. And that's what I said earlier, that I had to do. You got to be honest with yourself. And I've learned that honesty through bike riding. Like I told you, that 1-footer is not good enough. It needs to be a little bit better. Knowing that, like, it does, because even if I put that out there, it'd be like, dude, if you tweaked it a little bit more, it's like, you have to be honest with yourself and not just go, okay, yeah, whatever, because then you're just in this cycle of things. And that's what I was in. So I can't speak for anybody out there, what I think they should do or how they should live. But for me, I just didn't want to keep diving back into relationships. And then it just totally went the other way. I went from, like, afraid of being alone to, like, this is cool. I'll go ride a pool. I'll do some comedy. I'll play in my band. I don't have to hear anything. I'm good. I don't have to shower if I don't want. You know what I mean? You know, I don't have no obligations to anyone. I get the kids to school. I do my thing. You know, and I got used to that. I was like, oh yeah, okay, this is not so bad. Take care of yourself. So yeah, I
Yeah.
guess the main thing is really just take care of yourself, which goes back to the wellness thing. So
Yeah. What
yeah.
kind of stuff do you do like on the day to day to help balance your stress levels?
Well, once the kids, my kids are like pretty athletic, and their athletic programs are pretty intense. So I'm just telling you the other things that I do on a daily basis. But for me, like the music, the comedy, setting goals, and mostly too riding. Even if it's just riding down the street, I do this 10-mile ride. I've been doing it forever through Hollywood. I've been doing it for like 25 years. And people go, "Why do you ride your bike?" And I go, "Well, exercise bikes I'm not into in a gym, and I'm on the street, like I'm alive, and I'm able to, like, my mind's clear. I'm not thinking about bills. I'm not thinking about no pressure. I'm just out riding, having fun, listening to music, and I've come up with so many ideas by doing that. So for me, a lot of it is just really just riding or going to the skate park or you know shooting a photo. I feel good about myself when I do that. I do that for me. It's not strictly just for Instagram.
Hmm.
It's like, and then I feel like I accomplished something for the day. It makes me feel complete, like I did something, and that really helps me with like feel a lot better about myself, which is
Yeah.
really stress.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm not always like, oh, go, that's not good enough, no. I'm just like, also too, working out. I mean, my son work out a lot together. I spend a lot of time with my son and his training. It's very demanding. Um, and my daughter, lacrosse. It's so, watching them too is a lot. It helps me a lot too, knowing that I raise good kids. So,
That's
I
awesome.
take some stress off knowing that, kids are stressful, but I got good kids. I got good kids, man. I'm telling you, some of these kids out there, but I've been not hard, but I've been on my kids.
Hmm.
Uh, growing up about like just the realness of life and the good, the bad, and the ugly, and what's out there. And we're really close, and we can
Yeah.
talk about everything. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask too, because I like asking people who have kids, like, any like main or even just currently like life lessons that you're really trying to instill in them, so that they turn into better humans.
yeah, I mean, since they were in the belly, man, I was telling them that they were special and that they're always going to be somebody, and then to never give up and all those. I mean, literally, like I'll speak to the belly, yo, they have that instilled in them, and they never give up. But like anyone else in life, it's going to throw curveballs, and so I tell them all the time, like, to remind them. I tell my daughter every day. I drop off at school and then I'll text her, "Have a great day. I love you. No stress. Life is good." So I text her today. I'm always doing that to them. Always, same with my son. The whole, like, never give up, never give up on yourself is the main thing. But also too, like, my kids, they're super. They're not involved. They don't hang out with bad people. They don't do bad things. I mean, they're doing stupid teenage shit, but nothing like that. Some of these kids, I'm like, whoa, dude. Um, but I just remind them that, like, life, is a gift, and that you're going to make these decisions in life, and sometimes they might not be the right ones, but you're going to have to learn from that so you don't keep making it. But look, it took me almost my mid 40s to go, hey, bro, maybe you should stop getting married.
Yeah. And we all learn on our own time, like that's a big thing. Like you
Yeah.
can't, even like your kids, like you can't force anyone to learn their lessons at any time other than what is on their path, what's meant for them.
Yeah. You can't say like, I told you, parents, I told you this. I was like, dude, people have been telling me things my whole life. And then one day something happened, you get tired of making the same choice. You're like, oh yeah, okay. You got to learn on your own. I
Yeah.
just tell my kids, keep it positive, you know, uh, I always just say, don't do anything stupid. That's the main thing. Yeah. Be
That's
safe. Don't do anything stupid. Yeah. you know,
Yeah. So what does healthy eating look like to you? Because I saw your cooking Instagram page and I was like, what the fuck? This looks awesome.
uh, okay. Well, okay. So check this out. I don't know if it's because I got my 50s or what, but when COVID started, I wasn't at home, miserable, afraid, eating and stuff. I was actually out riding every day. I was like, there's no traffic. This is bitching. And like, I'm not fucking doing my thing. I ate the exact same shit. I didn't overeat. And somehow I got to be 205 pounds. I was like, what the hell? And we had started this cooking show on Cooking with the Thornes, me and my son, during COVID, because you're like, let's just learn how to cook. And so we said, all right, let's cook. And so I thought it'd be good because it's bonding for us. And then when he gets older, he knows how to take care of himself. And so like, I was like, dude, so what I did is I said, oh, okay, I got to go back to this. Really, I think it's my age. I cut out the sugar. I cut out the carbs. I mean, I'm not a vegan. I'm not against it. I'm not a vegetarian. I eat meat. So I would eat like meat, turkey, chicken only, total, like, I guess you could call like a keto thing or whatever. I wasn't following any program. It was just like no carbs, no sugar, nothing. And I dropped down to 165. And then now I'm about 168, but I eat carbs. What I did is I cut out the sugar.
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out like why, okay, like I ate that. Why did I put on 5 more pounds? You know, I was like, what have I been eating lately? It's like, oh, those protein bars are like candy bars, bro. Don't eat that shit.
Yeah.
You know, so it's the sugar. We eat a lot of vegetables. My kids are super healthy. We eat a lot of like, you know, chicken, beef, fish, and, you know, they eat fruits, acai, like, you know, all the stuff. Healthy to me is like, you know, everybody's different with their health and what works for their body.
Yep.
But for me, if I want to stay in this game, man, I can't be 205 pounds, you know, and I can't look like that on stage, and I can't be, you know, I just doesn't feel good, you know. I actually posted something where I'm like, yo, I'm gonna try to get down to 155. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, that'd be sick. You know, 160 would be amazing. 155 would be super amazing. And one dude posted, Joe, how about just be fat and happy? Try that. And I'm thinking like, are you though? Because I'm a lot happier 5 pounds lighter. I could turn a corner quicker. I look better, feel better. My clothes fit me better.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with that. That sounds like a cop out to me, you know?
I mean, that's like, oh my God, we could have an entire other like podcast.
I'm not shaming anybody, by the way. I'm just saying. Like,
yeah. But I still feel like, I mean, but oh my God, it's a rabbit hole. The media is perpetuating a narrative, you know, like it's okay if you're overweight, but like your body is not meant to be that way. It's a lot harder for your organs to work. And like, you know, you have more aches and pains. Like it's not ideal. And
right.
And weight gain can also be from like hormonal imbalances and so many other things. But like generally when you move better, you know, and you are happy with how you, I don't know. I'm with you though. It's a rabbit hole.
Yeah, but you know what? I'll be real with you on this. I had a joke about this, but I don't know if I could do any Dahmer jokes. Might be too soon. But on my stand up, it's like okay, it's just a joke, all right? But it's just like you know, his parents weren't there, and his mom drank a lot. I had the same thing, but I didn't eat people. I ate Twinkies and ding dongs. I got super fat as a kid. It's a true story. And I was stuffing my pain. I figured that out later. I look at myself all the time. I was like, oh, I get it. You know, people use food for comfort and stuff. And like, I'm not saying I'm any better. You live your life the best you want to live your life. I got to do what I got to do for me and what works for me. But, you know, I just think that when it comes to eating, I see a huge difference in what I eat. And if you just pay attention to things, I really think, in my opinion, the biggest destroyer of all is the sugar. I'm telling you, because that's what puts weight on you. Quick, man, quick. Because like, if you eat a little gummy bear, imagine eating like a tablespoon of sugar, just going like this, because that's what it is. But it's in a different form. So you're like, oh, it's a gummy bear. I'll eat 20 of those. And you're like, you just ate this much sugar, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
I saw there's like a infographic kind of thing, and it shows like the smoothie drinks, like the Naked brand or Bold House Farms, where I mean there's just sugar, like they're not that great for you. Then like, you know, orange juice and soda and whatever, and they're all lined up with like the sugar cubes of how much is in them, and it's crazy. Just like it's a reality check for I think for people to see that. Even
ketchup.
Oh yeah, condiments, dude, all over. Sugar's everywhere.
Yeah. So just to kind of cut out the sugar, just because of the weight, it just, I mean, I love it. I mean, who doesn't like chocolate and stuff? It's great. But yeah, for eating though, we try to eat healthy, a lot of salads. We make our own little salad we've been making for a long time. And just like, but we have our fair share. We have little cheat days, but I don't that much. I mean, my son eats everything. My son's eating 6-7 meals a day. No, I'm not lying to you. And then I'll make a big plate of food. I mean, like, this is what he had for breakfast. He had oatmeal, a big bowl of oatmeal with bananas. I'll go through the whole thing. A little bit of honey and some cinnamon. And then I made him a waffle maker, but it's about this big, with bananas, a little bit of honey, sprinkle just a little bit of powdered sugar on it, give a little kick, and orange juice. He'll eat that like that. No problem. I mean, it's a lot of food. Second I know, he's opening the fridge, grabbing more food on the way with him to go drive to go to school. I make him a lunch. I'm just saying, he eats a lot. My son eats a lot. And we held him back. Like, we held him back to do 8th grade again. Actually, he held himself back because he loves football and he started football young, started school young. So this is a holding pattern for him to reclassify and do 8th grade again, for him to grow and get bigger. So this is his dream and his goal. And I'm just supporting it, but I am just feeding him so much. He's eating me out. I'm telling you, he's eating me out of house and home. I swear to God, he's so much food. It's crazy.
Oh my God.
And my dad never cooked for me. My dad left me when I was like 5 or 6 or something, like never came back. Like, you know what I mean? And I got to remind my kids sometimes, like, yo, you know what I mean? Like, I'm helping you out. I don't have to do this because I love you and I want to help you. I'm trying to make you feel bad, but quit giving me an attitude that I just gave you a waffle. Do you know what I'm saying? Come on. You know what I mean? That's the hard part of parenting. Like, they don't know when they're being disrespectful. They're just kind of like, oh, it's dad or it's mom or whatever. You're just like, ah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're pretty good.
Are you big into like having gratitude practices or meditating or any of that kind of stuff?
I probably should. My ex always says, you need to meditate, because she does. And she does. She went in and out of AA for a long time. I think she probably still goes. So I know all about the gratitude list and all that kind of stuff. I don't necessarily write it down, but I'm always reminding myself and my kids. You know, I think that, like I said to my son the other day, I'm like, dude, you're in private school. You train half the day at school. You got a trainer after school. You go to cryotherapy, you go to the gym. You have another trainer for speed training. I make you 5-6 meals a day. Life's pretty good. He's like, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. So my mom always instilled that in me, in the simplest things. You got both your hands and feet. There you go.
Yep.
You got both your eyes. Shut up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Be grateful. So I'm very grateful, but I don't write stuff down.
Yeah. But you have the awareness. And I mean, and even as far as the meditating, like, because it sounded like when you're out on your bike, you know, or skateboarding or whatever, like if your brain is emptying, you're in a meditative kind of state. And that's, you know, you don't always have to be sitting down with your legs crossed.
Oh, you see, that's what well, then I would be then, because out riding, I just don't think of anything like that's stressful or just, you know, I get real excited when I go out and ride. It makes me feel alive, youthful, and that like keeps me, you know, wanting to, and I'm getting exercise. So I'm like, this is a win-win. I'm listening to music.
It is a huge win.
The best, dude.
Totally.
So when people go, what are you riding the bike for? It's like, well, y'all, I like to be in shape, man.
Yeah. Like, why aren't you?
Exactly.
Is there anything else healthy that you've added into your life over the years that's like improved your creativity?
No, I think a lot of the, you know, working out and eating good and all that stuff. I started doing that when I was like, you know, maybe 14 or something. I lost a lot of weight, started riding, and got involved in working out. But that was never to be like big or anything. It was just to be like, keep my core strong for riding and just, but like things more stuff that I've incorporated just by changing, you know, with the relationship and those type of things. I've always just been real passionate about what I wanted to do. I'm pretty driven, set on, I'm going to do it no matter whatever it takes kind of guy. So I still have that in me. That's been pretty consistent my whole life. Yeah. So I think I'm just born that way. The only things that I had to get out of the way were just those other things that, you know, hey, people, who doesn't want to be in love? Who doesn't want to find, I'm not a guy that hates love or hates relationships or is bitter. Like, I've been married, don't do that marriage shit. Not even, dude. If you find happiness, it's great for you. Mm-hmm. I just had to find it first in myself, ultimately. So, you know, and that's the key right there, man. So if that would help anything in my life, would be that. But listen, when you ride bikes and you grind, and we started in backyards when it was new and it wasn't on TV and all this stuff, and like, you write something down on a piece of paper, and then you learn the trick and then you bring it to life and you take it to a contest and you take that and you put that on paper and you get a sponsor with a resume and you're typing it up on a typewriter, all these type of things. Like you learn that, like, if I could do that, I can get into comedy. Let me figure this out. Let me get into music. Let me figure this language out. Let me get into the radio. Let me figure this language out. It's not like it's like, whoa, this is so, it's like your confidence is already so high, knowing that, like, I took something and created this thing and we took it at such a high level that, like, well, if I could do it with that, I could pretty much do anything I want.
Well, and that's it. It's your determination and willingness as opposed to innate talent, for example.
Right. But you have to learn too, like when I started hosting TV shows, which I did for a long time for ESPN and then TV and stuff, I had no hosting skill at all, but I was used to being in front of people on a microphone hosting, doing shows. So I just kind of applied that personality to a camera. I never even knew, but then I had to just kind of study it a little bit, like, oh, what, hosting. And then I did some movies, and then I got into acting school because then I learned real quick, well, hosting has nothing to do with acting. Unless you do a cameo, and that's not really acting, So right. Then I dove into acting school and said, oh, I want to learn how to act. And then you learn how to do that, learn the languages of music, and then do comedy, do this. So you still have to study, but I just, or just practice. But I think that, like, your confidence level of knowing you could do what you want because you did this other thing is high, maybe It's like mastering your craft at something. And then you're like, oh, well, I could go into other stuff,
Yeah, no, it's true. And that's it. I mean, it's confidence. Cause if you've seen the successes and the achievements, then, like, why can't you succeed at something else?
Yes, it's always exactly. It's kind of like seeing what's on the other side of the mountain,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that over there's like, and keeping your motivation to get up over that mountain to where you need to go, rather than just seeing the mountain going, no, I can't go any further. There's a mountain there. It's how your mind has to. It's like Bruce Lee. He says, he's talking about the moon. I don't know the exact quote, but he's like, it's like a finger pointing to the moon. If you look at the finger and at the moon, you're missing all the heavenly glow. And meaning, like, shoot past stars kind of thing, like look past.
Yeah. Or that whole, like, forest through the tree, or the tree through the forest, whatever that thing is.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. And another good one is, I saw this documentary on the sushi chef, and he's legendary. I forgot the name of it. Man, you got to look it up. It's a sushi chef in Japan, and he's like iconic. And he's legendary. And they did a documentary on, I forgot what it's called.
Is he the one, like, there was something like doing sushi, like something in the subway or something, or he learned
near a subway train, yeah.
And he, like, apprenticed for like 10 years doing, like, rice or something, like, isn't something like that?
Sushi doc. I'll just put docs, like sushi doctor. He talks about being, like, on the top. And he's like, on the top of what? Because once you're on the top, you got nowhere else to go. And I always want to improve my craft and my work. I was like, that's my dog right there. I'll let it load. But yeah, that, so when people say, I'm going to make it to the top, it's called, Hero Dreams. Is that it? No, that's not it. Maybe it is.
But it's a separation from ego.
What's that?
You need to have that separation from ego.
Yeah, you do. Sorry, I'm paying attention to you. I'm just trying to figure this out so I can tell your listeners.
Are you though?
Yeah. It's Hero Dreams of Sushi.
Okay. I'll link to it. I'm going to put a hyperlink because after all this, people need to be able to click on it conveniently.
I'm pretty sure this is the one. My gosh. Anyhow, yeah. So he talks about that, and just talks about, like, and that stuck with me, is like, people always say they want to be at the top. I'm gonna make it at the top. And it's just like, there's nowhere left to go.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it was though with riding and competing. When you compete for 25 years and you go to a contest and you compete against the same people expecting a different result, and then you're talking about insanity. And that's why you have to get into other things. So the afterlife of, like, action sports or any sport I noticed you've had a good friend of mine on your podcast, Steve Cavallero. Steve's a really good friend of mine. We've been friends for 25 years. We've toured the world together. Steve's been a huge impression or influence on me to, even though I had it in me and I was doing TV and radio and all this stuff that came my way, it was a person that I connected with a lot because he does a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
He's not afraid to reinvent himself, but he still skates. And I've always been kind of the same way with riding. Not to say that I'm trying to be a protege or follow in Cav's footsteps, but we have that in common. And, it's just like being able to, I competed for all those years. It's just like, I had to do something different because unfortunately I've seen some people in my industry that fell short of wellness and aren't here with us today because what's the afterlife of, their sport, and like they get this fame and they get this money and this opportunity and these sponsors. And if it goes away, what do you got?
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like you have to take the chance and not be afraid because you don't got anything to lose.
And it's like, to further the point is when you get to the top, whatever, that top is, however that's quantified, how often you meet a goal and you feel kind of unfulfilled. Like you're like, cool, I did it. Well, but now what?
Yeah.
Like you
exactly.
need to have more to keep moving forward. And if it's diversifying your portfolio, yeah.
And also it's fun. It's not like, whoa, my bike riding's falling off. Maybe I'll start a band. Oh, no, maybe I'll do comedy. These are all goals I wanted to do as a kid. But when you're focused on like, I'm going to be a pro at this, nothing else can get in the way. Like you have to put your time in. That's what you do all the time. It's not like I have time to do the other stuff.
Yeah.
And it almost felt like once I mastered this craft, I was able to go, well, I can get that easier. I can do that easier. This is another dream you wanted to do. Not necessarily easier, but I got the confidence. I got the drive, the know-how. So you're able to do other things instead of trying to do them all at once. Nowadays, I can do them all at once because I could juggle with where I'm at with my riding and where I'm at with everything else. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I think of like a bar graph and you started at 0 on some of them, but now that they're all up roughly around the same point, you can just jump to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so yeah. And I think that that's one thing that keeps you mentally well as well, especially when it comes to, and I don't know what it's like for like the person that works a 9 to 5 and works in an office and comes home and then they have their family and their kids and they don't have anything else in life. I don't know what that's like. And I don't think I'm any better because of it. I just don't know what to say to someone in that situation besides get involved with something different. Get involved with like, I've had the liberty and freedom with my kids to always be there because of my career, because of what I do. And not everyone has that. And I'm so grateful for that.
But it's through the choices that you've actively made for yourself. We
True.
all make choices,
True.
and like, if you're not happy in your 9 to 5, you have the ability to make another choice and at least go to a pottery class on Saturday. Like it's all choices.
Right. There is. And that goes to like, just, and I feel for people that haven't found it yet, but I think that you can if you just dig deep and you got to make changes, and changes are uncomfortable. Changes are out of your comfort zone. Changes are, discouraging at times. Mm-hmm. And so you have to be willing to sacrifice some things that you might not wanted to sacrifice before because you're in a comfort zone, but it doesn't mean that comfort zone's healthy. I was in a sick comfort zone. I thought I needed to be in this to feel a certain way. I didn't need it at all, but you're just taught that way from, a baby up, like, so anyone out there, cause you asked me earlier, like, what would be advice or whatever for people over, is that maybe just don't be afraid to just step out of your comfort zone,
1,000%.
Even me, I get that way sometimes. I'll be real with you. I'm when I first started doing comedy, I was like, I want to be looked at a certain way because I wanted to keep looked at this way of what I built. And I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to go for it. If I bomb, I bomb. And I bombed, and then I get back up. It's like, oh, so it's like bike riding then you're into it. I always tell people, and I tell my kids this, once you start, things get easier. If you don't start, you can't see the possibilities. And if you give up, okay, if you give up, you're not going to see the opportunities that are waiting for you around the corner, because they are. You just got to stick it out, bro. And it will happen to you. It will happen for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just don't give up.
Yeah.
Then
And I think too, like, because just because I like to always do the flip side, not always, but I like to do the flip side for stuff is like, maybe like you thought you wanted to be, whatever, master, whatever. And like, maybe you realize like, I don't want it as bad as I thought I did. It's also, I mean, in that, in those instances, it's cool to be like, I realize this isn't what I actually want. And you can back off, like there's that, like accepting that it wasn't what you thought it was going to be or something.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I respect that, because it doesn't mean you gave up. It means that like, oh, this isn't what I want to do. I'm also a firm believer of not wasting time, you know?
Yeah.
So then like, if you wait, here's an example. My daughter played baseball years ago, and both of my kids did. And she didn't like it. She wanted to quit a half season. And I told her like, well, you're not a quitter. She goes, I know I'm not a quitter, but I'm not having any fun at this. I thought I wanted to play and I don't like it. I'm just standing on the outfield, not doing anything the whole time. And I'm like, you can quit. And she goes, really? I go, yeah, but you're not a quitter. You're just going to what else do you have in mind that you want to do? She wanted to do something else. She wanted to play soccer. So I was like, well, let's play soccer. Don't force yourself to do something and say, well, I'm not a quitter. Because now you're wasting time. You already know what it's like not to quit.
Yeah.
And some people may disagree with that. They'll disagree. They're like, oh, your kid's got to stick it out no matter what. Well, my daughter is so outgoing and such an achiever. It's far from a quitter. It's just, why waste your time doing something you don't want to do?
That's true though. Like that's a really good way to look at it. There's quitting and then there's refining your interests. And if you can, so that's the follow-up question. Well, then what else did you want to do instead? Because that's showing the refinement.
Yeah. Instead of like, okay, well, let's just go back home and sit around, and spend money at the mall. Yeah. Right. I'm like, no. Yeah. What else you got planned? I tell my son that all the time. You want to quit football? If you ever do, what else you got planned?
Yep.
Because you're not going to be sitting here playing video games. No.
Perfect.
But I'm not worried about them. Since they've been 2 years old, they've been in sports. They've done them all. Yeah. So but refine. You refine what you want to do, and then you're able to, excel and not be forced to do something that you don't like. So.
Yep. Perfect.
Definitely.
So do you have a quote that you like a lot? Maybe like another Bruce Lee one or Napoleon Hill?
I love all their quotes. Bruce Lee would be like water for sure. I have that tattooed on me right here, to be like water.
Oh yeah.
But Napoleon Hill's awesome too. PMA master. I use the quote "Stay rad." People ask me, I've been using that quote for the last 10, probably even before that, 15 years. And I put it on everything, like signature stuff, like shirts, like all kinds of stuff. And people go, oh, what's that mean? What's that mean? And it's just a reminder to always try your best, to be the best you can be for you. And, obviously to be a good person and not be an asshole, but really just to keep that feeling of that stoke for you. So you feel alive and you feel like what you're doing is making you feel complete. That's what stay rad means. So I always just say, stay rad, dude. That's it.
I love it. I love it. It embodies so much vitalness.
And like 2 little words.
Yeah. Yeah. So the tagline for my business, because I do the interviews and podcast stuff, but then I sell supplements. I do wellness coaching. The tagline for my business is delay dying.
Delay dying.
Yes. Okay. So I like to ask everybody, if you had to give someone tips or advice on how to delay dying, or like in other words, just live a healthier, happier life, what would you say?
Oh, delay dying. Get up and live.
Yeah.
Get up. To delay dying would be start what you've always wanted to do and just try it. And once you try, you realize you're onto something and it's going to bring you life. You're going to be back to life again. Don't rely on just a person or, a relationship. Dig deep, delay dying, dig deep.
It's kind of not for your own grave.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It kind of like, it's like, wait, we'll change that. Wait, let's change it around.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. Dig deep, but it's not 6 feet for your body. It's for your Dreams to be planted. I don't know.
Yeah, or just to better yourself, you know.
Yeah.
Actually we could say, in order to delay dying, drink a lot of water.
That too.
You know what I mean? But yeah, no, just I think a lot of it, honestly, keep your mind straight. If you want to delay dying, it all starts with your mind. Remember, your body doesn't control your mind. Your mind controls the body. And so I practice that so much. That's why, you know, I'm able to still be doing what I'm doing. It's the positive reinforcement in the mind. It's all about the PMA. Delay dying, PMA.
Mic drop.
Bam.
Do you have anything cool coming up or coming out, or anything you want to share on?
Just writing, recording music, playing gigs, doing comedy. Just keep going forward. I don't have any tours set up as of right now, just local stuff, but it's good. It's all good. That's it for me.
Thank you so much for hanging out. And like, I mean, like, I could talk to you like forever about all of this stuff. I was like, oh, I want to talk about this and this and this, but I'm like, just stay focused. So
yeah, I have a problem with that. I'm all over the place, but
yeah,
but thank you.
I like your brain. It's good.
Oh, thanks. Yours too.
Cool.
Gotta stay positive. Yeah.
Sometimes I think I had